And if they have a curiosity of how things work, if they like to figure out the why behind how something's operating, if they can have the confidence to look somebody in the eye and explain to them what they did and how they did it, those are the key traits to being successful in the trades. And I think so much more of it is just
Welcome to BCBP Podcast, episode 15. Today's guest is Jon Fruetel. Jon, welcome to the podcast.
hey, thanks, Austin. Great to be here. Great to learn more about Blueprint and great to talk about trades today. So,
Yeah, I'm
uh,
stoked. I
yeah,
love talking about trades, and I know you love talking about trades too.
it's great.
I like to just hop right into it, Jon. Now, you have 20 years of experience in HVAC construction, and I know you're all for empowering the next generation for the HVAC leaders. Tell me your story. How did you get started in construction HVAC, and to the point you're at now?
Yeah, so great question. I always wanted to be a contractor. I wanted to be in buildings. I wanted to build buildings. And I went to high school in New Jersey, and I chose to go to Auburn University in Alabama. I was probably the only kid from New Jersey to go to a school in Alabama. And the reason why I went there is they had a building science program, and I learned the professional side of construction, project management, estimating, and such. Did that, got into the construction world, general contracting, built some large buildings. The last one I did was about $105 million office building downtown Nashville. And my brother, my dad at the same time got into they started up a mechanical business called Mechanical Resource Group, and they were selling equipment, HVAC equipment, to mechanical contractors and such. And the people that we were representing at the time told us that we were responsible for first year labor warranty and startup and supporting that equipment after the fact, and we did not have a service group. And so we had to start a service group from scratch really, really quickly. And I was looking to do something else. I was kind of tired of just building buildings. I felt like every time you learned how to, make some money or work with the team, the job was over and you had to start all over again. And I was looking at something where I could build a team and kind of consistency and kind of grow something. And so I said, I'd love to get into the mechanical world, and I really didn't know anything of it other than how it all went together. And I learned I had to figure it out on the fly really quickly, and I had to get my mechanical contractor's license. I had to learn how to solve problems, and I was under the urgency of learning it quickly because it was costing me money and reputation if I wasn't able to fix stuff quick, and then just was able to hire some really talented people and put them around me. And then we would just get pretty kind of fearless of how we would go about, taking on projects. And we knew that if we just, did some research and dug into it, we could probably figure it out and be successful. And I guess it's been 13 years later, and here we are. So.
Awesome. So, I know with your experience and knowledge in the HVAC construction world, one thing I like to do with these podcasts is just kind of explain, like, how can someone who has no experience, who's younger, maybe they're in high school or they just graduated high school, they're in their young 20s, like, where do they get started? How do they get started? What kind of qualities or what might they find to be interesting, in the HVAC construction world?
Yeah. Yeah, so I probably talk more kids into the trades than I do into school. I think I got some kids in their 20s that are making good money. They're outperforming their siblings or peers that went to a 4-year college. And if they have a curiosity of how things work, if they like to figure out the why behind how something's operating, if they can have the confidence to look somebody in the eye and explain to them what they did and how they did it, those are the key traits successful in the trades. And I think so much more of it is just a curiosity and a confidence than it is, just book knowledge. Because in the trade, you're always fixing a problem. You're always trying to figure out what's not right. And then that's when it really comes. Those are the guys that are making good money, is they can go in, they can fix the bad stuff. And they can stand there and they can explain to somebody who just spent a lot of money on a piece of equipment and it's not operating correctly. And they have the swagger to be able to stand there and say, okay, this is where we are, and this is why I think we need to make this change or do this fix. Those are the guys that I see that accelerate the fastest in the trades. I'd say even more so than the guys that have a lot of book knowledge.
Yeah, when it comes to being book smart, like the whole reason a lot of us are in the trades is because we don't like to read and write. We can
Right.
read and write, we just don't like to read and write. And
Yeah.
the things you learn in the books, it's different on the field anywhere you go. I mean, I remember being in the lineman apprenticeship. Of course, we'd have Saturday school where we'd go into class, we'd learn about electrical theory, transformers, capacitors, all this stuff, electrical equipment, and then there'd also be part of it's like, this is how you build power lines, but that's not how you build power lines. You go out in the field and it's completely different. Like you learn way more like on the job with guys that have been in the field or in the trade you're working in for some number of years. They have that experience. They've been
Yeah.
doing it. So yeah, that book knowledge, I mean, it's good to have. Like sometimes I will just crack open some of my books and just relearn and there's things like three-phase transformers and transformer theory and things like that are you learn from a book, but you also learn on the job.
Oh, no
So
doubt.
what does a day in like an HVAC? What does an HVAC tech? What do they do in the HVAC world? I don't know if you know like more residential, commercial, industrial. Or could you
Yeah.
explain? I kind of want to
Yeah.
look.
So my company's Mechanical Resource Group. And we're in Nashville, Tennessee, and we do industrial, commercial HVAC. And somebody wants to get into trade, I'm like, okay, we'll interview you, we'll give you a job, we'll pay for your apprentice program. You'll do that. I think it's 3 nights a week, 2 hours after work. So we pay for all that, and then they get on the job training as they go through their 4 year process of apprenticeship. And we'll basically start, if they don't know anything, we'll start them off, cleaning coils, doing general maintenance, cleaning coils, doing filter service, belts, just general maintenance, cleaning out condensate drains and such. And then after you learn enough, they essentially want to get to the point where they can run calls and do troubleshooting and diagnostics. And as they're doing their apprenticeship and learning how systems should be operating from a maintenance standpoint, they should be able, in about 2 years, be able to start running calls, and that's when they, can start making good money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, and that's when the kids start to get really excited about it. Guys and girls, and I found that the great trades, skilled tradespeople are, you know, they might not be that enthusiastic about calculus or anything like that, but they are super enthusiastic about researching what they're actually working on and coming up with a solution. And they'll crack the IOMs at night, and they'll dig into the details, or they'll get on a chat page, or start talking to people about, hey, have you seen this, inlet guide vane system that's been failing prematurely on this type of gear? And everyone will start chiming in, and then they start sharing information, and it's a community. And I think people have fun with it once they figure out that it's a professional career, and it's a community, and it's something that you can dictate. You have autonomy over your life. And I've been to multiple service technicians retirement parties that I've hosted, and they've been able to retire in their 50s or early 60s on their schedule, because they've been able to make enough money and save enough money, and have a profession, that they were able to have control over. And they built this value. The value of a technician is what's in your head. It's the idea of how you can be curious and go solve problems and be confident and explain what you just did to a client. And that's the true value. And you can take that value anywhere you go. And my goal at Mechanical Resource Group is to just create an environment where people want to share that kind of information, and people are attracted to it and they want to be a part of MRG. So they'll be a part of a group where it's encouraged to share that kind of information. Um, I've seen also, I don't know if you guys have an lineman business, but there's a big difference between the old crusty skilled guy who won't share any information because he feels like that makes him more valuable, and then there's the guy who it has an abundance mentality, and they'll share everything they possibly know in order to help other people grow. And it's interesting watching people's careers grow. And I've seen the ones that have that abundance mentality and that are willing to share that information. I've seen their careers almost always go faster and higher than the ones that are afraid to share that what they know. So we have a YouTube channel. It's called Mechanical Pros, and we just want to share this information, this data with everybody, and get it out from behind a paywall or a username password, and just we want to encourage the trades. And I think that there's going to be a huge shift. I don't know what you think, Austin, about artificial intelligence, and a lot of these office jobs are going to be probably devalued while they still need people out in the field to go make these things work. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah. So I actually did this podcast. Me and my brother, we started this little podcast thing. Oh, the same podcast, but it's called Three Hot Topics. And that was
Yeah.
one of the hot topics that we discussed was AI and construction. But anyways, I want to touch point on you were talking about your YouTube channel, and I'm
Yeah.
for those and our viewers, I'm gonna have a link for his thing down in the description below, so you guys can check out John's stuff. I know I checked it out. It's great information. It's education. If you want to learn about the HVAC trade, and just things like that, check out his YouTube channel and his company, Mechanical Resource. I know they're doing awesome things. And I also want to touch a point on where you talked about the camaraderie and like the community inside the trades. Like every single trade I see, it's very strong. Now a lot of people I know that like the lineman trade, who are in the lineman trade, they like it because the brotherhood is so strong. I've had a lot of or I've worked with guys who are ex-military, and they're like, man, it's awesome because like inside this trade, like I feel like I'm still part of a brotherhood.
Hmm.
Guys still have my back. And it's like, yeah. And we're proud of that. Like it's awesome to have the camaraderie because we're working on things that will turn you into dust instantly. So it's like we gotta have each other's back. We gotta want to be to help each other, educate each other. And that community isn't just an alignment trade, like you're saying, it's the HVAC trade, it's an electrician, it's in plumbing. And for any younger individual, I know because this thing here right here, the cell phones, it's made a lot of the younger generation kind of like hyper aware. They feel like they should be so prepared and so ready. Like, oh, I want to get into the HVAC trade, but man, I don't know anything about HVAC. It's like, hey, can you learn? Can you show up to work? Can you have a positive attitude?
Hmm.
I mean, that's all it really takes.
Hey, man, all we need is that. I'll give you a truck. I'll give you everything else you need.
Yeah,
Tools. Just call us up, show up, and have a good attitude.
you'll give them tools like I I mean that right there is a huge benefit. But besides the point, you get into the HVAC trade, and like you were saying, the community. Okay, you find these groups, you find these threads, you find a Facebook group. Like I know I'm part of a couple Facebook groups that are all linemen. And I have a bunch of buddies that I have their phone number and stuff like that. If I need to reach out, ask a question, I can call them or text them, and I know they're going to get back to me with an answer. And if they can't get an answer, they'll find the answer and get back to me. So that community is so strong across all the trades. So if you're new getting into it and you're like, scared, I don't really know what's going on or how things work, it's like, dude, use social media, use your phone to your advantage. Or if you work for a great company like John's, I mean, it sounds like they're going to be there to help you along that way. So it's not as scary as people think it is to get into it. We understand that you don't know anything, but you got to understand yourself that, yeah, I don't know anything, so you have to be open to learn, you have to be open to work, and you got to have a positive attitude to the whole thing. You can't say this sucks and blah 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 blah, because we don't like negative Nancy's out the door. It's terrible for the work environment. But yeah, so I wanted to just touch on that point a little bit. The community
Yeah,
of trades
I,
is
I think
very
I
strong.
love the camaraderie, and
Mhm.
we have great success hiring either retired or active military folks. And in August, we're going to get to go up to the Pentagon and get an award from the Department of Defense for, partnering with them and hiring people coming out of enlisted duty, or active guard duty and serving and people, those type of folks, guys and girls, are looking for. They're looking for that camaraderie, and I think the trade is a great place for them to find that because it does continue.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's actually an HVAC company here in Phoenix that we were working with to, just get content and maybe build a course with them. First Choice Mechanical, and the owner of the company, he's ex-military, and then like four of the guys that work for him are all ex-military too as well. And yeah, just talking with them, it's the same thing. Like they love the camaraderie because
Yeah,
we're obviously all from the military, so they all working together and they know how that camaraderie is. But yeah, it's super cool.
it's
But
just
yeah, but yeah, touch point on your AI thing.
yeah,
It's it's funny because a lot of people thought that AI and robots were going to take our jobs first. They thought that they're going to be the ones digging the ditches first, and it's like, no, if you're going to school to get a degree in something like liberal arts, or if you have an office job when everything you do is on a laptop, like AI is going to just take your job away. I mean,
yeah.
it's going to be cheaper way
I
more.
think the people that learn how to use it are going to take your job.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you can't put your head in the ground. But it's going to be we're a long ways away from having robots fly out on buildings and fix HVAC equipment and run power lines and create new grid technologies and such. That's going to be humans and it's going to be an electric world, and we're going to need more and more things that are running on electricity and how to make those things go. Because I don't know about you, I like electricity. I like the comforts of HVAC. I
Yeah.
don't think those things are going away, but we got to figure out how to do it better and more efficiently and more reliably. So
Yeah, so I kind of want to ask, like, so what does an HVAC, an HVAC tech do? Can you kind of give a job description of what you do in the
yeah,
world?
maintenance guys are, they might be on the same project for a whole week if they're just starting out, and they could be going from rooftop to rooftop, and it's going to be hot some days, it's going to be cold some days. Sometimes it's just in the elements, but you're usually with two or three other people working and learning from each other. They usually go to lunch together, and they have some camaraderie and how they operate. And that's kind of starting out and learning the basics, and then you start running calls, and you could be running on a big centrifugal chiller rebuild, which is maybe like a 20,000 pound piece of equipment, and you could have to break that piece of gear all the way down and rebuild it all the way back and put a new motor in, or new seals, new impellers and such. It could be anything, but you got to learn how to diagnose it and then physically do it. And you probably get a helper that helps you along the way to handle all the heavy stuff, and you got to learn how to do rigging, and you got to learn how to move heavy equipment. And then you might have a guy who he just works a specialty on, it might be a variable speed drive or some uh, smaller equipment, and he might just go around and troubleshoot. He might see three or four different clients that day, just diagnosing and fixing issues, and then maybe coming back and following up with the right part or whatever he needs to in order to make it go. But it's always something new, and you might be hot and cold and miserable one day, but you might have a great next day. But it's always something that's going to be fun, and it's never going to be the same. So, and I think a lot of people like that. So, and you're not stuck behind a desk, and you get to be outside, and you get to go to, you know, a parts store and talk to folks, and you get a probably most people get a company vehicle, and you get to drive someone else's vehicle on their gas, and see a lot of the town and go to really cool places. The manufacturing places I've been to, you get to go behind the scenes of so many really awesome places that you would never get to see before, and you get to learn how things are made. It's You learn so much in this industry, and I'll just talk to people, and they'll be like, "How do you know that?" Be like, I've been there, I've done that, I've had to fix that." And that's what all these trades folks are doing. They're a part of that.
Yeah, exactly. And just to like clarify for anyone who doesn't know what HVAC means, like what exactly is HVAC entitled? Like, I know it's air conditioning. Like, explain just what the HVAC means.
Yeah, so it's usually down to the equipment. So it's the equipment side of mechanical systems. So not so much the duct work and the pipe, but more so the pump associated with that pipe, or the chiller associated with the cooling, or the air handler that's actually moving it. So we learn how that specific piece of equipment is built, how it's supposed to operate, and then our job is to make sure we can either fix it or make it operate the way it was designed to, or sometimes there are ways to improve things as well. So, but it's the mechanical side of the business, and but narrowed down to the specific equipment, the specific equipment with the moving parts that needs to be maintained, serviced, and repaired.
For anyone who wants to maybe look into HVAC, getting into the HVAC trade, like, is there any education, certification, or certifications or anything like that would help them get
Yeah.
into it? What do you think of
So,
that?
lots of states have different criteria, and lots of are different between whether it's a union town or if it's a non-union town.
Yeah,
Nashville uh, is not a very strong union.
right.
That is one way to go. Mechanical Resource Group is not a union shop, and there's no right or wrong or reason, uh, in my opinion, to go one way or the other. We chose to not be union, and but we have an open shop apprentice program. It's associated with the Associated Builders and Contractors, and they have an accredited program. So it's like when you're done with this, you have a piece of paper that says you are a certified journeyman of HVAC, and that's equivalent to a college degree. And so it's an accredited program, and you can do that through. But that's a nonprofit kind of way about going about it. There are other for-profit universities, like I think I don't see as many of them today as there were in the past, but with the ABC program, I can talk to that because I know it, and we put our people through it. It's 4 years. I think you can test out of the first year and just do 3 years if you do have some experience. And it's, I think, about $2,000 a year. We pay that fee for our employees, and then you also get on the job training. And then usually they start about, I think it's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and it's about 2 hours of classroom. And it usually goes from like 4 to 6, and they usually order pizza, and they have dinner while they're going through class, and there are usually buddies, and then they go get jobs, and then they still call each other when they need help.
It's similar for the lineman trade, like you're saying, the non-union versus union, depending on what part of the country you're in. Um,
Yeah,
I've worked with guys who they came up work non-union, let's say in Tennessee or Alabama somewhere, Texas. It doesn't really matter what state,
yeah,
but then they move over to Arizona or the West Coast or East Coast somewhere, and it's like, well, the like East Coast and West Coast are very strong union.
hmm
Um, but if you want to work on the union side, then it's like, well, okay, you can come work on with a union company, and then if we see that, okay, yeah, like you actually know what you're doing, like you're actually knowledgeable and you know how to do line work, then you can take the union journeyman test, and then you become a union journeyman lineman too as
Mhm.
well. So it's very similar to how you're
Yeah.
talking about.
I mean, I have old, former union folks on staff, and I have, guys who've never been in a union on staff. Probably it's probably 50-50 both ways. It's just there are multiple ways to get educated, and
Hmm.
it's all the beautiful thing about this business is it's up to you. You have the autonomy to figure it out,
Yep,
and another fun thing is some of these kids learn how to, they learn how to sell really while they're talking to clients and explaining what they know.
that's where their money's made.
And then they start getting into the business side of it, and then they learn how to like come up with solutions, and the entrepreneurial side of it comes up to them. And then those folks, they make a lot of money. I've got some kids, I'd say in the mid 20s that are making, a few $100,000 a year just because they got that swagger. They know how to make it work. If they don't, they'll go figure it out. But they've earned the trust and respect of the client to be able to, for this client to be able to give them, umpteen $1 million worth of equipment for them to be in charge of maintaining and keeping that asset running. And that's a huge, that's a valuable career to have. It's worth something.
Yeah, that was kind of my next question is like, okay, what kind of money or benefits can you expect to see inside, an HVAC trade? Obviously, you really know for either your company and then probably the Nashville area. I mean, obviously, everywhere else you
Yeah.
go, it's going to be different every state, every company you work for.
Yeah. So, we've been in business 13 years. We started out, we didn't have any benefits. We've grown. So we got about, I think we're right about 90 employees right now. And we have, you get a truck or you get a van, you get a service van. We pay, your health insurance is basically free. We pay, I think almost 80-90% of it on, for the employee, for the employer, for the employee. And You get 401k, you get paid vacation. It's a it's a good gig, and we let them drive their trucks home.
Oh,
So
that's big, especially
so
the price of gas.
and so they get the dispatch straight from the house. We pay for their gas. It's a so they usually, a lot of these folks, they just have they can get away with having a one vehicle family that they're operating with because uh, they're being dispatched straight from the house and they don't have to commute.
What does the pay kind of look like just starting out? What if you start out as a helper, just like literally?
Yeah. So, oh man, it's been going up a lot, which I'm proud of. I don't see technicians as ever a overhead or a business liability. To me, they're assets, and they're always revenue generators. But if you're starting out, you're making probably 20-22 bucks an hour just starting off. And if you're running calls, and if you're an expert at what you do, you can double that in probably about in pretty good amount of time. I'd say you could probably in 5-10 years you could probably double your salary if you wanted to, but you got to work at it and become an expert and provide that value. And then if you want to go the next route, you learn the business side of it and learn how to put together solutions and present those to clients that are willing to pay for it. And then you can probably double your salary again too. So it's easy to make six figures in this industry, and I think it's going to become easier and easier as the labor shortage continues to kind of crunch, get pinched a bit. We need more people in the trades. Systems are becoming much more sophisticated than they were in the past. And I'd say the biggest thing in the mechanical world is how much electrical knowledge you have to have now because you got printed circuit boards on almost everything. You got controls and almost everything. Everything is becoming integrated, so you got to learn a lot of that electrical knowledge and a lot of that control knowledge as things become more and more sophisticated. And as it becomes more sophisticated, you become more valuable because you know how to make all these really difficult things work. That an engineer in an office wrote it down on paper, but that might not be reality, and there might be some things that you got to figure out in between here and there, and that guy's desk and actually making it work. So um, it's a trade and it's an art. So and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
You would say also, for getting started and having a skill as far as like obviously being able to learn, but I mean if you're decent in math and things like that, like that'll help you when you're
Yeah.
getting started. You think so? Like what would be a couple skills if you already have or you could learn or develop that would help you getting
If
into
you,
the HVAC trade?
yeah, if you're mechanically inclined, if you can look at a door and you can tell what side the hinges are and which way that door swings just by looking at it, those are type of like simple mechanical aptitude things that are important in what we do. If you're good at math, that's great. We also got calculators too.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
uh, you know, uh, I think the biggest thing, and I talk about it with my guys all the time, is just if you're curious and you want to know why or how something is working and you're willing to actually do the work to figure it out, you're going to be successful. And you can't be you got to work with your team. You can't be a jerk too.
Hmm. Yeah.
But if you're curious and you're not a jerk, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, so once in, if I just start as an 18, 19, 20 year old, like what are some things to expect, kind of when first day, first week, first month as a just starting out, like what are some things that I could have or develop that are going to help me be
Yeah.
more successful in the trade?
Yeah. So we're going to treat you like you're an adult. We're going to give you a vehicle, or if we don't think you're ready for a vehicle, we're going to expect you to hook up with somebody to be there on time in the morning, to wear your uniform, to look professional, to be professional, act professional. We're going to expect you to be able to take instruction and give feedback, to do a paper, write out a service report every day. You got to be able to explain what you did that day, of how many units you worked on, or what you actually did, because we have to communicate that to the client because they're paying us. Um, and we're probably not going to give you. A lot of kids come in, they think that we're going to sit down and we're going to teach them classroom style all the things that they're ever going to need that first week of work, and it's not. It's all right. Come along. We're going to go figure this thing out together, and you're going to learn by doing. Um, and that's a lot of it. You need to learn how to be safe. You need to learn how to operate. We'll teach you that. We'll give you the tools you need to operate safely. Uh, you need to learn how to go up a ladder. You need to learn how to, if you're rigging anything, you need some guidance and instruction on how to rig something, because you could get hurt, and we don't want to hurt anybody else, or you could damage equipment, client's equipment. Um, it's all common sense stuff that you just kind of learn by doing. But we will treat you like an adult and expect you to operate like an adult, and we will pay you like an adult. And and the people that have that kind of mindset and ask questions and show up to the extra trainings we do, whether it's early or late, or send you to a specific training class, and they show up and they're sober, and they didn't go out all night the night before, and they actually take notes and participate and are able to come back and explain to you what they learned. Those are the people that do really well.
Yeah, no, those are all, yeah, those are probably all common across any of the trades.
Yeah.
It's yeah, exactly your
Just
intent too. I
good.
feel like if you have good intent with like, yeah, I actually want to be an HVAC tech. Like I want to do this stuff. Like have the right intent to want to do it is going to help you too. Because I know like if I have an apprentice or a guy working with me who's just starting out and his intent, the only reason he's in the lineman trade is because he just wants to make good money because you can make money. It's like, well, dude, like the trade's a lot more than just making money. So like, where's your intent? Like I can see your intent is not where it should be, and I'm gonna try to correct that for you because
Mhm.
we don't want somebody in the trade that's only here just for the money. Like
Yeah.
we need someone here that actually wants to do the job and look after each other and like provide this service. So, um,
Yeah. If
well,
you're in it for the money, you're gonna get burnt out.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So in today's day and age, right now, like what is the best way for me to get started in the HVAC trade? Where do I go? Like what steps could I take? Do you see? Because I know it's different now in
Yeah.
2023 than it was probably in 2003. So what do you see?
So if I was wanting to get in a trade, I'd start calling the reputable market leaders in my local area, and I would go to them because it if you're if you're talking to a market leader, they're going to help you figure this out. They are going to say, okay, you need to talk to these people, and they're gonna steer you clear of a lot of people that might take advantage of you and might lead you down the wrong path. Um, and and if someone came to me, I'd probably interview them. I'd get a sense of who they are. We'd talk about what their mechanical aptitude is. We'd lay out the expectations, and then we'd star them out and in the apprentice program and put them, on a maintenance crew. And we'd probably watch and see how they did for about 6 months, and then, they'd probably get a raise after that, and then probably start giving them more responsibility. And they might have a few guys, that they work with on, each job, and then start building a relationship with the clients of the buildings that you are working on, and getting to know those clients and interacting with them. Um, but I would start. I think the companies are probably the best place to start these days. Unless, but that's probably specific to Nashville and how we operate, because our union is not as strong as other cities. Whereas they would recruit from high schools and such, and encourage kids to come on board. Most of the industry leaders are the ones that are providing the majority of the training here in Middle Tennessee, and that could be different somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, and I know some union guys, and they're probably some of the best educated and technical guys out there, and I'm proud to have some of those guys on board as well, especially guys that have moved from California. And some of these people, the last few years, there's been a big migration of skilled labor moving from the West Coast to Tennessee and Florida and other states, Texas, and
States
I've
that
had,
aren't very like union strong, but they come
yeah,
from a union strong territory like
yeah,
California. So
those guys those guys are great.
yeah, and it's one of those things. It's the like you always. One thing I like about the union and going through the union apprenticeship, I went through the union apprenticeship up in the Northwest. I'm from Washington
Hmm.
originally, and now I'm in Arizona. And it's like the training you get is really, really, really great when it comes
Yeah.
to line work. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, a lot of these things like HVAC, electrician, plumbing, things like that, or residential, whatever. Like yeah, I'm sure there's awesome companies that provide awesome training. Like you're saying, like your company sounds like you guys
Hmm.
provide awesome training, you give the opportunity
We
for
try
someone
to. I
to
mean, it's hard. It's hard to provide it. It takes a lot of extra energy and work, but that's what a market leader will do. They'll
right,
put that extra energy into
right.
it.
So yeah, so you're saying like for someone who wants to get into it, like look for a market leader because those are going to be your best bet to actually like be able to learn, go through an apprenticeship, and like work your way up through with that company and get your best, education and training you can just starting out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you talk to somebody at a softball field or baseball field, you find out they're in a skilled trade, and that they look like they got their life together, and they, you know, those types of people can give you the best instruction of where to go. I would just be leery of some of these paid for, universe, or paid for profit schools, and what they teach, and because you can get in just as much debt with them as you could going to a 4-year university, and there's no reason to do that. I mean, you should not have any student loans or debt. If you choose to do the trades right, or at least in Middle Tennessee, been my experience. It's a way to be completely debt free.
I agree with you 100% on that. It's like you want to get into a trade, you like the whole reason the cool thing about the trade is you don't need a degree. Like you don't need like to be in debt from education, of course, and things like that. and that's also something we try to preach with Blueprint as well, is like dude, you don't have to go to a trade school if you want to get into HVAC, electrician, plumbing, lineman. You don't welding. You don't have to get into these trade schools. Like you were saying, it's as easy as literally calling or knocking on a door and just showing up with the intent of like, hey, I want to get started in this trade. I want to work with your company. You guys like pretty reputable. I'd love to work with you guys. How can I get started? And that's like something I want to teach and be able to like show like it's not that hard, like, because of labor shortage, because we want younger generation to come in and work, because also right now with the older generation retiring that have all the knowledge and all the experience and whatnot, before they retire, we'd want them to teach this younger generation coming in all their stuff, so they can come up with a lot of skills and knowledge from the 50, 60 year olds,
That's right.
um and like you were saying, I don't want to necessarily go down a rabbit hole of these trade schools and for
Yeah,
profit
I
like
don't
that.
want to go into it either. I just say be careful.
Be careful, do your research. That's
Yeah,
what a lot of people ask me about, like, oh, hey, should I go to this lineman school? And I'm like, hey, like there's lineman schools all over the country. Like, dude, just do your research. Like, I can't tell you to go or not. Personally, I would tell you not to go. I'd just tell you how to get the certifications and what to do. But hey, you kind of are your mindset. You want to go spend $20,000 in 4 months to go to a lineman school. I mean, go do your thing. Just do your research, and
yeah,
because yeah, I mean, I have guys that come out of lineman school, and they DM me on Instagram. They're like, "Hey, man, like I just graduated line school, and like I don't know where to start." I'm like, "Dude, you just spent 20 grand in 4 months, and they didn't even teach you like how to find a job and where to go." Like honestly, bro, you just wasted $20,000 in 4 months of your time. But yeah, anyways,
I just want to let people know that you do not have to go into debt and be successful. People will help you be successful, and you just want to find those people that want you to be successful and align yourself with them.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's a huge fraternity, and the skilled trades. I feel like we do a good job of looking out for each other.
yeah, yeah. All right, John. Well, I like to kind of end these podcasts with this.
Yeah.
What are the three top skills, qualities, anything like that that someone could have that would benefit them, help them in the HVAC trade?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'd say number one, curiosity. Number two, confidence. Being able to look someone in the eye. You got to have a little swagger to you, and it makes it a lot more fun. And I'd say number three is if you're going to be professional, look professional.
Okay.
Um, you buy a new pair of Carhartt pants every other month or something. Just keep it together and look good, because you're going to know these people for a long, long time, and that first impression is going to make it is really important.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good three list.
Hmm.
Well, John, I really appreciate you coming on
Yeah,
and discussing and talking about what you have going on with your company and what you want to do, and just discussing and explaining the HVAC trade so someone can listen,
absolutely.
watch, and figure out, how to get started and what to look for and what to develop.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thanks, Austin. I love talking to you. Love getting to know what Blueprints up is about, and man, I'd love to support you all in any way that we can. Um, if anybody's interested in HVAC world, check out Mechanical Pros on YouTube. And our business is Mechanical Resource Group in Middle Tennessee. If you're interested in getting into business here in Nashville, and you can always reach out to us and ask us a question. We get questions all the time about how to fix stuff. And Austin, keep up the good work, and let's get some more skilled tradesmen out there. So,
yeah.
all
Thanks,
right,
Jim. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
man. All right,
Have a good
good to
day.
be with you. Okay, you too.